Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
AM 560, The Answer. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Chris Crock filling in for Dan Proft. He's back tomorrow. I get to be with you a few more dates later this month. I love hanging out with you in my hometown, born and raised in Chicago and the suburbs. Meantime, we're going to talk right now to Lauren Green. She is a congressional reporter for the Washington Examiner. She wrote a piece, Congress breaks 4 records in just 6 months. Lauren, thanks for joining us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Well, one of the things you write about here, the Democrats are trying to draw attention to their resistance and help with fundraising efforts. Is all of what they're doing, all these stunts, kabuki theater?
I actually talked about this yesterday with somebody, and I mean, obviously, whenever any party has a trifecta, I think that the minority party does have to fight a little bit harder and scream a little bit louder to get their message out there and to make sure that their base doesn't feel neglected, regardless of which party that is. I mean, obviously, we're seeing a lot of clips from these, and with the rise of social media, it probably feels like we're seeing it a lot more, and that it can sometimes come across as ingenuine because social media and clips like that do come across as ingenuine. But when the Big Beautiful Bill did pass, I was on the House floor, or not on the House floor, I was in the gallery as the members were on the House floor. And it was really interesting to watch because if you're familiar with the House floor, the cameras there can't show like individual members or move around. It kind of has a set view. So if you're ever watching videos from the House floor, you only get one view, which I think it narrows the scope. And typically on the last vote of the week, these members are running out of there with suitcases. They have jeans on. They're not in their typical suit, and they're just ready to get home. But after this vote took place, I kind of noticed for one of the first times that, I mean, obviously all the Republicans stayed on the floor to celebrate their massive success in passing the Big Beautiful Bill. But a big amount of Democrats stayed on the floor to watch it pass and kind of broke down and were emotional. And whenever I saw that, it changed my perspective a little bit on the messaging of the bill. And I think that, I mean, obviously messaging is politics, and there are some disgenuine traits about it. But I do think that the Democrats in general are very emotional about this bill, even whenever it is not on camera.
One of the things you write about, too, or the quotation in here, is from a Democrat strategist. They want to see enthusiasm. The Democrat voters with these, with their leaders, so-called leaders, they want to see enthusiasm, so booms in fundraising, a lot of social media impressions, and an enthusiastic base. Are they basically, they're doing some of these antics and stunts or whatever they cannot win, was your point. They cannot win, the Democrats, and they know they can't because they don't have the majority. And so instead, they're doing all this wild stuff and over-the-top stuff to get people enthused, to get money, donations, and as you mentioned, social media impressions. Are they poisoning their own minds of their own folks in their party by going apoplectic in an effort to try to get these things?
I mean, I guess we'll really have to see whenever the midterms come down to it. I do think that a big issue whenever the midterms are coming around after a presidential loss is getting the base excited again, and I think that that's what they're doing. I think we'll have to see in the midterms if the way that they're doing that actually works. I know that, obviously, whenever Cory Booker broke the floor speech record, he got millions upon millions of views. I saw it all across my social media. I saw it from people outside of D.C., which I feel like a lot of times floor activity does not reach people outside of D.C. So, we saw how far that reached. His Q2 funding hasn't come out yet. I think that his Q2 funding will be a really large indicator of how well that worked for his campaign moving forward. But I also do think that there are definitely some ethics concerns in the Senate whenever it does come to raising money off of official floor activity. I know that there's a barrier there just between raising money and official activity. So I think that there will be an ethics report done there. So we'll see more once that ethics report comes out and whenever his Q2 funding comes back.
So you said that Cory Booker, got tons of followers and donations, all this kind of stuff. It appears for his 5-hour and 4-minute speech. All those views, though, they weren't watching the 25 hours, were they?
No, definitely not. Honestly, I did write a story, though, and I was watching his live. I think that he had it live, Senate Democrats had it live. And on every live, there were millions of viewers at all times, which, I mean,
that's crazy.
I watched the House
and that was boring.
Very closely.
That was like watching paint dry, wasn't it?
Very closely, and there were never that many viewers. There's maybe 300-400 viewers at a time, but for there to be millions, I think that for a lot of the time, it did reach a pretty large audience.
But it was boring. It was like watching paint dry, wasn't it? I mean, right? Let me ask you this.
Yeah, I could never talk about a subject for 25 hours.
I might be able to give folks a run for their money since I'm a talk show host, but let me ask you this though too. To me, there was no way, and there was a look on his face at one point during his 25-hour speech, and a pause, and I swear to you, the man had to be wearing diapers because you cannot go 25 hours straight without a bathroom break.
No, we were wondering that whole time. His team, and he didn't tell any reporters or anyone any of his tactics leading up to it. He came out and talked to reporters after. He said he had stopped drinking water something like 24 or 36 hours before to ensure that he didn't have to go to the bathroom, which is wild. I don't know how you could do a stunt like that without food or water.
Right.
But yeah.
Let me say this. Let me say this. My Native American name in my family on road trips is Man of Small Bladder. All right, I can't go more than 2 hours if I'm lucky, and then I throw other people under the bus. Oh, you got to go, don't you? No, yes you do. Whatever. So there's absolutely no, and even when I do my road trip planning, like the night before the day, I'll drink very little of anything so I can go farther, but it still doesn't make a difference. So you guys weren't buying it either that he somehow didn't wear some undergarments to go to the bathroom while he was doing his 25-hour speech.
I have no idea. I mean, we were wondering about Hakeem Jeffries too last week. We were like, this man has got to go to the bathroom soon. As we were waiting, we had just pulled an all-nighter, and so he started it around 4:50 in the morning, and we were up there, and we were like, we thought it would go for like a little bit over an hour, and then he just kept talking, and we were like, we're tired. He has to go to the bathroom. We gotta wrap this up now.
I bet you it made you everybody else around there the what do they call it, the what's that effect where it rubs off on everybody? I bet you everybody else had to go to the bathroom more because they right sympathy bathroom breaks. One more question I want to get into with you on this. And by the way, talking to Lauren Green, congressional reporter for the Washington Examiner, her column, Congress breaks 4 records in just 6 months. For the Republicans, you write, the record breakers are merely delay tactics and have not done much of anything to stop passage of their agenda, including the big, beautiful bill. So all these efforts have got them nothing at all? Is that accurate, other than the followers and donations and such?
Yeah, I mean, that's typically how these magic minutes go, which is what Jeffries did. Cory Booker's was not technically a filibuster, but it's just tactics used to delay the floor. I mean, it's used on both sides. We saw it with the former Speaker, Kevin McCarthy, for Biden's reconciliation bill, the Build Back Better Act. He talked for 8 hours and 30 minutes as well, and Jeffries talked for a little bit longer than that. So I think that, it's mainly just to pull clips for social media now. It's used as a way, it is used as a way to campaign, regardless of if there is barriers between official business and campaign business. But it's definitely just a way to rile up the base and get their message out there before the passage of the bill.
Lauren Green, congressional reporter at the Washington Examiner, thank you very much for your time this morning. We appreciate you for joining us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
All right. Well, and I want to let you know that coming up at 8:38, we're going to talk to Scott McKay, who is a senior editor at the American Spectator, among many other things. We'll talk about Brennan Comey, and we're going to talk about Epstein. And, quote, the Epstein mess was always going to end this way, is his column. We'll get into that with him at 8:38. But in the meantime, I got a bunch of shorter things that I want to get into big time that have been on my docket to get into either yesterday or today, filling in for Dan Proft. Couple things. First of all, 2 top malls out of the top 10 malls, according to USA Today. 2 of the top 10 are in Chicago. Think about which ones they are. I'm going to tell you coming up next which ones they are. And I have some takes on this, big-time takes. Second of all, Vienna beef, the absolute diehard staple of our lives as Chicagoan is Vienna beef. NBC5 doing a story about this and interviewing the folks at